Morning, everybody. It's good to see you. It is Thursday morning. It is the day after the ice storm. So I hope you're warm. I hope you're safe. Hope you're home today. The Bowling Green bubble comes in handy for us. It's the meteorological wonder that sometimes the weather seems to hop right over us. And so honestly, Woodburn, Bowling Green area, we have just got some wet roads, but nothing like those around us. So God bless those of you who are iced in today. And God bless those of you who aren't. We're going to make it through this winter. It's almost over. We are in the middle of Gospel of John, actually heading now toward the cross in John chapter 12. Today we're looking at verses 12 to 36. I love you. I appreciate so much that you're with me, that you've been so faithful to read with me. We are, I guess, now coming up on a year of doing this together, just verse by verse. Every single day, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock for 10 with Tim. I am Tim Harris, pastor of Woodburn Baptist Church. And luckiest man to be alive. I love my church family, and I love you guys, the family of those who read with me in the Word every day. We are on Palm Sunday, Jesus' triumphal entry into Jerusalem here. Now again, John in the Gospel knows that you've read Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And so some of these stories that you're very, very familiar with, he knows that you know them. And so he doesn't belabor them. And this is one of those stories that John spends a little less time on than perhaps some of the other Gospels. John just tells you that Jesus came into town triumphantly, riding on a donkey. People were cutting palm branches and laying them down. But for John, he just wants to emphasize this is a fulfillment of Scripture. This is a fulfillment of Scripture. This is Jesus coming in as a fulfillment of the Messiah as a king like David. And the disciples didn't really understand. And this is what he says. They didn't really understand. And this is typical John, helping you sort of get this editorial comment that, they didn't really understand until later. And John uses this phrase, until Jesus entered his glory. That's verse 16. Now, this sort of sets up the unique lens through which John is going to view the cross of Jesus. Jesus' suffering, Jesus' death is his glory. It's not that the cross happens first and then Jesus is glorified. The cross is part of the glorification of Jesus. It is his glory. And I think that's interesting and important for you to note. Now, one more time, John will make a special point of telling you that they're still buzzing about the raising of Lazarus. That people who were on the streets that day welcoming Jesus were among those who had been at the tomb. They watched Jesus call forth the dead man from the tomb. They've been testifying. That's John's word. Remember, the entire Gospel of John is like this big trial where evidence and testimony is given, and you're going to be the one to decide. And so those who saw Lazarus walk out of the tomb are testifying about that. And there are many who were there just simply because of that great sign. Now, notice the line. Look, several things lining up here. This is an amazing moment. Notice what it says in verse 19. The Pharisees said to each other, there's nothing we can do. And literally what they say is, the world is going out after him. The world. New Living Translation says everyone is going after him. But what they say is, the world has gone after him. Now pay attention to that. The world has gone after him. Very next thing that happens. Some Greeks, some Gentiles who were in Jerusalem for the Passover festival, they go to Philip. Philip goes to Andrew. Philip and Andrew go to Jesus. The Gentiles want to see Jesus. Now, interesting things here. First off, Philip is the only one of the 12 with a Greek name. So Philip's name is Greek. So it's interesting that the Gentiles, the Greeks, they go to Philip. He has a Greek name. Philip goes to Andrew. Andrew is always bringing people to Jesus, right? Every time you see him, he's always bringing somebody to Jesus. And so they come to Jesus and say, there are Gentiles here who want to see you. I just think that's really interesting. Now, at that point, verse 23, Jesus says something astonishing in the Gospel of John. Since the very beginning of the story, since the wedding of Cana, when Mary goes to Jesus and says they're out of wine, remember that? And what does Jesus say to her? Woman, My hour has not yet come. My time has not yet come. And all through the Gospel of John, we keep hearing this. His hour had not yet come. They wanted to lay hands on him and kill him, but they couldn't do it because his hour had not yet come. His hour had not yet come. That's just one of the recurring themes in the Gospel of John. His hour had not yet come. His time had not yet come. And now in verse 23, out of the blue, Jesus says, now the time has come. Now my time has come. Well, really, did you see that coming? Like, what just happened? What happened to make Jesus say, now the time has come? It just sort of seems out of the blue. But is it out of the blue? No. Do you see, like, what just happened? What just happened? Well, what just happened is Gentiles came and wanted to see Jesus. The Gentiles were coming, right? And so in the Gospel of John, that's your sign. That's the sign. The moment when Jesus says, now my time has come, is not any previous moment, but it's this moment when the Gentiles come and the Gentiles want to see him. Now his time has come. And so now Jesus makes his pivot. He's going straight to the cross. And now his time has come. And notice what it says. The time has come for the Son of Man to enter into his glory. So understand, the cross is glory. His suffering is a part of his glory. So now that time has come. The Gentiles have come. And Jesus begins something of a speech here. Notice what he says about the grain, the kernel of grain. The kernel of grain must go into the ground and die in order for it to produce this plentiful harvest. So that death, that going into the ground and dying is a part of what comes next, the plentiful harvest. And that's the way Jesus describes his glory. You understand? That death leads to something. It's not so much what happens, but what happens next, what happens after the death. So this is the way Jesus describes his entering into his glory. Now, just a couple more things. Verse 27. Jesus says, now my soul is deeply troubled. Should I pray, Father, save me from this hour? But this is the very reason I came. I just call your attention to that because what's that sound like? When Jesus would say, my soul is deeply troubled. Should I even pray, save me from this hour? I mean, what's that sound like? Well, that sounds like Gethsemane. That sounds like, Jesus praying in anguish, Father, if it be real, let this cup pass from me, save me from this hour. And here's the thing, I just, tell you in advance, John's not going to tell you the story of Gethsemane. Like, that's all the Gethsemane you get right there. This moment where Jesus says, my soul's in anguish. Should I pray, save me from this hour? John knows that you know about Gethsemane. He knows that you know that Jesus prayed in Gethsemane. He knows what you know. And John just, likes to tease that irony of what you know. But he's not going to tell you that story. I mean, if you want to go look for it, I'll wait. Because, and what we'll read, and we'll get there, Jesus will go to the olive grove, but he's going to get arrested. And you're not going to get that moment of prayer. John just sort of gives that to you now so that he knows, and he knows but that's all good. The Gethsemane we're going to get right there in verse 20 to 27. My soul is deeply troubled. Verse 34, the crowd responds. Now we think we understand from Scripture that the Messiah is going to live forever, but you say the Son of Man is going to die. It's just, people always in the Gospel of John speak truths greater than they know. So what are they saying here? How can you be the Messiah and say you're going to die when we think the Messiah is going to live forever? It's like, they just came so close to preaching the gospel right there. Jesus simply replies, verse 35, my light will shine for you just a little longer. Walk in the light while you still can so that darkness doesn't overtake you. Remember how the Gospel of John begins? The light shines in the darkness, but the darkness is not overtaking it. Yeah. So see, everything just in John just keeps coming back around full circle. And now Jesus is talking about the light and the darkness. See, in the Gospel of John, one more thing. The cross is set up as this final assault against the evil one, against the devil. This time for judging the world has come when Satan, the ruler of this world, will be cast out. That's verse 31. So John is setting up now the scene of the cross. It is going to be for Jesus the glorification of the Son of Man, but also this final affront, this final assault in this eternal, ageless battle between God and the evil one. And so the stage is set for that. After saying these things, Jesus went away and was hidden from them. We'll pick up right there tomorrow in verses 37 to 50. John chapter 12, verses 37 to 50. By my time, I just nailed 10 minutes, so I'm going to quit talking and say I hit it today. I love you guys. Again, tomorrow, John chapter 12, verses 37 to 50. We're moving into some really, really important and beautiful scriptures. So stay in the Word with me. Stay in, stay warm, stay safe today. And Lord willing, I will see you tomorrow at 10 o'clock for 10 with Tim. Have a good Thursday.